Hi, my name is Johnny Barnett. I'm an astrologer, and you'll usually see me on this channel talking about planets and chakras. But today I want to talk to you about some cool stuff I just sort of stumbled upon while thinking about astrology and numbers and other related fields and how they're all connected. And so some really cool information to share with you today. I want to give thanks to Eric Rankin, who's the gentleman that created a show called Sonic Geometry. And if you haven't seen this yet, I highly recommend it. It's really cool look at numbers and geometric shapes like squares and triangles and hexagons and how the angles within those shapes match certain notes in music. And so that's part of how this started. I sort of took Eric's ideas and added my own ideas to them. As an astrologer, I look at things slightly different. So let's jump right into it. And first off, I want to draw your attention to the Fibonacci series of numbers. If you saw the Da Vinci Code, you might remember the Fibonacci series was used as a code of sorts. Fibonacci is simply you add the number previous to get the number next. So 1 plus nothing is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 3 is 8, etc., etc. Anyway, I took this out to 12 places and I got to 144. And lo and behold, 12 times 12 is 144. So you're going to start to see some really cool numbers that just are going to present themselves over and over again, whether we're looking at what we're looking at right here or whether you're looking at ancient religious texts like the Bible. 144,000 is a number that appears frequently there. Some other numbers that you'll be noticing throughout, I'll be calling your attention to 3, 5, 7, 12, 144, of course. 360, the number of degrees in a circle, and 432. So we're going to see these numbers jumping out for the next 15 to 20 minutes everywhere we turn. So the next thing I want to show you is the Pythagorean musical tuning scale. Pythagoras from Greece, from about 500 BC, invented our modern musical scale. And what he did was he realized that when you take a string and you plug it, you get a note. And if you cut that string in half and pluck it again, you get the same note 1 octave higher. So we're basically looking at these notes, which all they wind up at 432, which is the reference pitch. 432 hertz. Sound is measured in hertz by Westerners. 432 hertz is the standard reference pitch for all music traditions throughout the world. I say all, most. I haven't studied them all. Okay. But you'll find ancient cultures and even American musicians were tuned to 432 up until about 70 years ago. The very first recordings of Elvis Presley, everyone's tuned to 432. The Indian musicians that played on Beatle records were all tuned to 432. So you'll see there's a reason why everyone uses 432. We'll get into that. But anyway, we're starting at 27, and now at the end I'll show you why we start at 27. But 27 doubled is 54, doubled again is 108, doubled again 216, up to 432. And you might recognize 108 from your religious practices if you're Hindu or Christian. There's 108 rosary beads on your rosary, mala beads if you're in India. The mala bead necklace has 108 beads. Again, there are reasons for these things. They all tie in to this template, if you will, of the way the universe has been laid out, at least here in the United States. So, excuse me, here on Earth. Here on Earth. So yeah, you'll see these numbers coming up time and time again. So what Eric Rankin did with sonic geometry was he took like I said, he took these shapes like triangles and squares and measured the internal angles inside of them and came up with numbers that matched certain hertz or frequencies. So the internal dimensions of a triangle came out to 180. Because it's 60 degrees every angle, or all the internal angles add up to 180. That is an F sharp in the Pythagorean tuning scale with 432. So if you add up all the angles in a square, you get 360, which is double 180, or again, the same note an octave higher. And of course, the note is A. I'll play an A chord here on the guitar. That's what we're talking about. And so what Eric did was look at all the different shapes, the pentagram, the hexagon, the octagon, whatnot. And so he found that F sharp came up more often than not. But C sharp came up with the pentagon, the five-sided shape, geometric shape. And so me as an astrologer, I'm looking at the other side, whereas he's looking at the five-sided pentagon. I'm looking at the pentagram. In astrology, we're measuring the angles around the zodiac from here to here. So if you have a planet like, say, the sun there and Jupiter there, that means something different than if the sun is here and Jupiter's there, or Jupiter's there, or Jupiter's there. It's all opposite. That's what astrologers do. They look at these relationships. So I decided to take the pentagram and turn it inside out, and the pentagon and turn it inside out to get the pentagram. And I started looking at the angles, and the angle for a pentagram is 72 degrees. And you might notice that 72 is 27 reversed. An interesting coincidence, perhaps, but maybe more to it. We'll explore that a bit as we get into this, because we're going to see both of these numbers everywhere we look. So if I start down here with my pentagram, and I go over here, 72 degrees. If I go up here, I have 144 degrees, right? Another 72 gives you 144. Up here is 216, up here is 288, and back around to complete the circle, 360 degrees. So what I decided to do was take all of these angles and add them up. So I added 72 plus 144 plus 216 plus 288 plus 360, and I came up with 1080, and 1080 hertz is also a C sharp, just like the C sharp that Eric Rankin had found when he measured the internal angle. This does not happen with every shape, but it happens with the pentagram pentagon. So I thought that was really interesting, and so I decided to just keep running with it, and I took it another step further, and I added each of these angles. So what I did was I added 72. Oh, by the way, there's our 216 up here at the top of our pentagram, which is also over here in our musical scale for note A. So once again, I added these numbers together just to see what I'd come up with. And you add 72 and 216, you get 288, and then we're following the line here. So 216 plus 360 is 576, and you follow up here, 504, then you follow across 432. Well, lo and behold, there's 432 again. And then back down the last little bit, 360, the number of degrees in a circle. So I thought that was kind of cool. But then I added all of those numbers up together. 576 and 360, so on. And guess what I came up with? 2160. And as it turns out, 2160 hertz is double 10A, another C sharp, an octave higher. Nice, huh? What's even more interesting is that it just so happens that the diameter of the moon is 2,160 miles across. Yeah, how cool is that? There is a rhyme and a reason to the musical system of Pythagoras, to the Fibonacci scale, to astrology and geometry and the way of looking at your life through these lenses. And so, and it's even up in the sky. So, next thing I did was I just kept going. I just kept going. I took all my new numbers and added all of them together. And so 360 plus 288 gives me 648. Down here to 864. Interesting. Back over here to 1080 again. Back across to 936. And finally back down here again to 792. Well, you add all those up, 4,320. And hertz, it's the same note, C sharp again. And you notice 432 shows up over here, just as 216 shows up over here. 108 shows up over here. You see what's going on? There's this amazing, elegant system of harmony. And it's harmony is what we're really getting at, because all those shapes that add up to F sharp are the numbers trine, which is 3, square, which is 4, hexagon, which is 6. These numbers all divide evenly into 12. Remember I said 12 was one of our numbers that's going to keep coming up. The Greeks, at least the Greek astrologers, really didn't care for numbers like 5 and 7 because you could not divide them evenly into 12 and 360. You got fractions, and they didn't like fractions, at least we're told. And as it turns out, every astrologer to this day, not every, but most astrologers to this day, do not pay any attention whatsoever to quintiles, this relationship in your chart, or septiles, the relationship of the 7-pointed star. But I'm here to show you that the 7s and the 5s are what give us harmony. Because if you're a musician, you know that F sharp, if you start with an F sharp and you go to the 5th note, and we'll talk about circled fifths in just a second, the 5th note is C sharp. Or if you're a piano player or guitar player and you want to play a chord and you have F sharp as the chord you want to play, C sharp is one of those other 2 notes that makes it into a chord. C sharp and F sharp harmonize with each other. I guess this is a good point to mention that Venus, the goddess of romantic love and creativity and beauty and art in mythology, corresponds with the 5-pointed star, because the planet Venus turns retrograde 5 times in 8 years. And each time she does it at a point 72 degrees away from where she did it the time before, so that after an 8-year period, Venus has traced out a 5-pointed star in the zodiac. So we're having fun with 5 now, huh? Circle of fifths is the musical way, the Pythagorean system for discovering which notes are in harmony or which notes belong together in that chord. So the 5th note of F sharp is the C sharp. So the other note we need to complete our chord is, if you're a musician, you know, is B flat, which is the third of F sharp. And as it turns out, when you add up your internal angles of a heptagon, the seven-sided, you get your B flat. So for whatever reason, Ptolemy is the Greek that we credit with, you know, inventing or you know, really solidifying the Western astrology. Um, for whatever reason, he didn't like to look at the fives and the sevens, and most astrologers to this day are just following right along, uh, not questioning why. I like to question. I like to find stuff like this. So when I find stuff like this, I think there's something going on. And so that's what I do as an astrologer. Now I start looking at the quintiles and the septiles in your chart to give you some really juicy information that you're not going to get if you don't look, right? So that's fun with the five-pointed star. Yeah, it's all about harmony. It's all about the juice, and of course, Venus is the planet of creativity and harmony. So it all just, it makes sense that her pattern is going to give you the note, the first of the two notes you need to harmonize. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, circle of fifths. Get a load of this. So you know we have 12 notes on the piano, right? 5 black keys and 7 white keys for each octave, and of course 5 plus 7 equals 12. Interesting enough. But if you start here on this circle at our star, our starting point, and you count 12 places, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's our 432, as well as our 936. And I haven't looked into this too deeply, but anyone who's followed the teachings and the work of Tesla knows that he loves threes, sixes, and nines. And so I just think that's fascinating that when you draw all these numbers out, you get these very significant numbers that all come out at this point on the star. The, you know, the fifth point of the star, starting right. And you can switch these numbers around anywhere. It's always going to wind up to the fifth point, wherever you start from. It's going to be the fifth point that you get this number. So we got the circle of fifths. We got the fifth point on the star, and maybe now is a good time. We'll come back to the phi ratio, but I want to just show you some 7 math real quick too, because 7 is our third note, if you will. B flat is our third note to make a chord. 7 is unique among all numbers. And when I say all numbers, I mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. These are the only numbers we use. 7 is the only one of the numbers that you cannot divide into 360. Remember, 360 degrees is how we measure a circle. So what happens when you divide 360 by 7 is you get 51.428571428571428571, on and on. It just goes on. It's an infinite number, if you will. I'm just going to hold this down to the basics so you can see what's going on here. It's a special number. That's why 7 is considered a lucky number. It's considered a spiritual number. You see 7 days of the week and 7 colors of the rainbow. There's something special about 7 chakras in the body, 7 visible planets in classic astrology. You see what I'm getting at? There's something very, very special and unique about 7, and you can see it mathematically. It does not end. It's like spirit is infinite. 7 is that spiritual number. And so Not only that, but the other really cool thing that happens is when you add 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 8 plus 5 plus 7, you get 27, the root note for the Pythagorean tuning system, the root note for music. I mean, how cool is that, right? So we got our oh yeah, and seven's the B flat to give us our 3-note chord. So just in case you want to hear what I'm talking about, I'll just play a chord for you. Here's an F sharp. I'm playing 3 different notes. I'm playing an F sharp, I'm playing a C sharp, I'm playing another F sharp, I'm playing that B flat right there. I'm playing another B flat there. Is that right? I played or C sharp there, a B flat right there, and another F sharp there. That's a chord. That's how you combine. It takes 3 to make a chord. Again, 3 is one of those. Oh, we didn't talk about how special number 3 is, but let's get to that right now. No, let's do the phi ratio, then we'll come back to 3 because 3 is actually the root of 27, the root of everything we're talking about here. So I want to talk about phi. You might have heard the phi ratio or the golden proportion, the golden mean. Basically, here's phi. It's a Greek letter, phi. That's why everything with PH in English is pronounced like an F. Phi comes from this, phi. The golden proportion is this. So if you measure the top of your head to your belly button and you multiply it by the phi ratio, which is 1.618, you will get the distance from your belly button to the bottom of your feet. And if you think that's cool, that's not even half the story, okay? Because if you then take the distance from the bottom of your feet to your belly button and multiply it by the phi ratio, you get your entire height. There's only one point on the body where you can do that, and it's your belly button. Just like there's a phi ratio between the first knuckle and the second on your finger. This distance times phi is that distance, and that distance times phi is that distance. It's built into nature, it's built into our bodies, it's everywhere we look. And so I just want to point out to you that phi also exists in the 5-pointed star. This distance times phi gives you this distance, right? It's everywhere in nature, it's in math, it's in geometry, it's in astrology, it's in your body, it's everywhere we look. And so I just wanted to point out to you that the word 5 is, of course, the symbol phi plus the abbreviation for Venus, 5. Fiveness, Venus, this creativity. This is the juice, this is the special sauce that makes life really fun and really interesting. So yeah, there's your 5, there's your 5. Okay, last little thing I want to do, just to show you back to 27 and where that comes from. Why 27? Because in sonic geometry, he doesn't really talk about how Pythagoras came up with that number. It kind of leaves it out there hanging. That wasn't good enough for me. And I was talking with a musician friend of mine over this about something special about 27. And he's like, well, 27 is 3 cubed. 3 to the third power is 27. So the cool thing about 3 is that, first off, it's the number of form, like we're living in a physical world. So every physical thing is made up of, has 3 dimensions to it, like height, width, and depth, right? It's a 3D world. It's also a spiritual number because we think of in the Christian tradition, for example, there's the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. In the human tradition, there's Mother, Father, Child. In the our Father Sky, Mother Earth, and Child of God, right? In the Hindu tradition, they have a three-part Godhead. I think it's Krishna, Vishnu, and somebody help me out here in the comments. Sorry. But yeah, there's a threefold Godhead, if you will. So three is it's like the physical number and the spiritual number. So if you include both the spiritual component and the earthly component, 3 to the third power, you get 27. And I'm sure we'll see some more stuff in the comments below about 27 and some cool things. But for now, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for watching. I do a class, has nothing to do with this, but it has a little bit to do with it. This is like the underpinning of what I teach. The class is called Chakras, Mythology, and Astrological Symbolism. It's about the chakras, but it's using all this information to sort of support it, right? So we see that the world and our lives are very meaningful, very purposeful, and so you can look for my class online. Let me know if you're interested in attending the Chakras, Mythology, and Astrological Symbol class online. I also travel coast to coast across the United States teaching this class. So you can look for me in your town, or if you have a place that hosts classes like this, let me know. I'd be glad to come to your town to teach. I also do private astrological readings. So again, if you want me to look at these septiles and quintiles inside of your chart and show you where the special sauce is, where the juice is in your chart, give me a call for that. Contact information is below. info@chakraology.org is the email. I look forward to seeing your comments. Thanks again for watching. There's more videos on here if you're interested in more stuff that I do. And great. Thank you. Look forward to chatting with you in the comments below or seeing you in the future.